This is Business Edge on News Central. I'm Tolulokwe Adileru Balogun. Our headline story: Resurgence of Africa's gold. Have you ever wondered why Ghana is called the Gold Coast? It's because the West African nation has an abundance of gold ore within her borders. Recent estimates show that it is now the largest producer of the metal in Africa. Does that surprise you? Well, we might have answers to all of these questions. How has Ghana managed this? We'll get into this on today's show. Welcome. This is Business Edge. Ghana has become the toast of exploration firms on the continent and is now Africa's largest gold producer. Ghana beat out South Africa for the top spot in 2019 and is also known for its reserves of various industrial metals. The West African nation has around 1,000 metric tons. Ghana has 23 large-scale mining companies producing gold, diamonds, and more. Now, industry majors such as Anglo Gold Ashanti and Gold Fields have shifted their focus from South Africa to Ghana, where deposits are cheaper and easier to mine. There are also over 300 registered small-scale mining groups and 90 mining support service companies. So apart from earning revenue for Ghana directly, it also ensures many people earn a living along the value chain. Gold production is becoming an important export earner in West Africa. This is true for countries like Ghana, Burkina Faso, and Mali. These nations are expected to increase their export quota by 2.7% in 2021 to 8 million ounces and grow to 8.4 million ounces by 2024, a 1.6% compound annual growth rate. Now, after strong growth in 2019, West Africa's gold production was badly hit by the COVID-19 pandemic, owing to the temporary suspension of mines such as Fekola in Mali. Global Data, a leading data and analytics company, said that the pandemic had a significant impact on African operations, mainly during the early parts of the second quarter of 2020, when at one point the region's gold mines were on hold with no production due to COVID-19 lockdowns. Ghana as well felt the pinch, with gold production decreasing in 2020 from 2019's numbers. Now, Ghana is expected to lead the growth, where production is expected to reach 3.9 million ounces in 2024 from a forecasted 3.6 million ounces in 2021. Benjamin Ato Quansah, financial analyst, joins me now from Accra, Ghana. Benjamin, welcome once again to Business Edge. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me, Tolu.
Now, while Ghana's gold production is on course and the farm gate cocoa strategy that Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire have put in place is seemingly yielding fruit, does Ghana still need to borrow as much as she has before? You're bringing in revenue from different sources. Things seem to be going quite seemingly well. Do we still need to borrow as much as before?
Well, it is very sad that in the midst of plenty, the African man is still hungry. And I say Africa because this is an Africa-wide problem. Africa has about a third of the world's remaining natural resources and still remains largely dependent on donor aid to finance development. Even in some cases, I mean, African countries borrow to pay salaries and so on. In my opinion, there are three main reasons why this is so. Firstly, our actions that are supposed to lead to industrialization have been slow. We live in a continent where most of revenues from exports come from sending raw materials to other countries. And Tolu, we have had a number of discussions on this. After these materials are processed, we tend to import our processed raw materials at anywhere between 2 times as much as we got for it, up to like 15 times as much as we got for exporting them. President Nana Akufo-Addo began to fulfill their campaign promise to build a factory in each district in the country. The idea was to look at whatever a district was good at doing and then build a factory there to process at least some of those products. So, for example, Ekumfi in the central region of Ghana got a pineapple juice factory or pineapple juice processing factory built there to process the huge produce from the pineapple plantations there. As to how successful this campaign has been is another discussion, but ideas like this one with proper implementation will put African countries on the right path of industrialization and self-reliance. Also, We have leadership. I mean, leadership has always been a problem here in Africa. Governments are mainly influenced by what is necessary to get them re-elected. Unfortunately, sometimes what really needs to be done requires hard decisions that may seem unpopular in the short term, but solve problems for current and future generations. What we need in our countries are strategic thinkers in leadership positions who can offer the important and strategic solutions no one is even talking about at the moment. And finally, if Africa is really going to stop borrowing and be classified in the global north, then we need to deal with corruption once and for all and stop simply talking about it every single day. When it comes to corruption, all opposition leaders, I mean, not just in Africa, I mean, all over the world, talk about how they will fight corruption, only to get into power and even do worse than their predecessors have done. When our governments do this, when they're able to tackle corruption, we'll be able to get real value for money in the projects that we use our loans for.
Okay.
Yes, and our borrowings reduced to what is absolutely necessary because, like I mentioned last time I was on here, borrowing in itself isn't a bad thing. Sure. We just have to borrow funds wisely.
Very true. So we see big players in the field now for Ghana. Ashanti Gold is seeking to list on the Ghana Stock Exchange, hoping to raise some $3 million. But they're not the only ones, but they've really targeted particularly Ghana. Why are they not expanding into other nations along the Gold Coast, along the West Coast as it may be? What is making gold so attractive above and beyond gold in other countries? Why is it Ghana that's becoming basically the belle of the ball?
I think that Anglo Ashanti is simply reacting to the commitment of the Ghanaian government to ensure smooth operations for stakeholders in the mining industry. Key in this commitment, for example, is the fight against small-scale mining by the current government. Apart from this, some mining companies in Ghana also enjoy tax exemptions, like, for example, on the fuel that they use for their operations, etc. I may not have all the facts about the happenings in other countries in Africa, but I'm sure that if other African governments demonstrate a similar level of commitment to make it worth the while of companies like Anglo Gold Ashanti, then they will come running. And however, a lot of countries, for example, in Nigeria has a large economy. It has the largest economy in Africa, larger even than in South Africa, which is the home of Anglo Gold Ashanti. I think that Nigeria should focus, or other countries like Nigeria should focus on developing their local participation in their gold industry. I'm all for this. This is the surest way to wealth for other African countries who are trying to encourage other foreign companies like Anglo Gold Ashanti to come in.
So we've seen that the price of gold has also increased, interestingly enough, during this time of the COVID-19 pandemic. People were looking for where they could trust their money. So we saw the price go up, but currently it's about $1,796.38 per ounce. And Ghana's gold production was reported at about 140 million kilograms in December 2020. This is now less than the 142 million kilograms recorded in December 2019. When you do the math, isn't gold enough to make Ghana very, very rich?
Only if we're receiving at least most of the revenue from our gold. All the major mining companies in Ghana are foreign-owned companies. Talk of Golden Star, Anglo Gold Ashanti, Newmont, etc. A lot of the profits that they make are therefore repatriated out of the country. This repatriation sometimes takes a toll on the tax revenue we end up making from them. We are also unable to refine the gold here in Ghana. In order for Ghana's gold, and for that matter, mineral resources, to be able to make Ghana rich, local participation in the industry must be strongly encouraged. It must be nursed and it must be developed. Just like I mentioned previously, it is the surest way to ensure that gold revenues stay in the country and are used by the people in the country. And that's the only way that Ghana is going to be rich from all the gold that we are mining here.
So what you brought up now is a conversation that comes up many, many times when it comes to natural resources on the continent. And that's a conversation about the value chain. And many African countries we've seen are missing out on that. The value chain of many industries is actually enough to create wealth further down the line. But because we tend to be the one at the very beginning, at the stage where it's a raw material, or we're not even the one because we maybe don't have the capacity and the capabilities to even bring out those raw materials. We're really missing out on the revenue along the value chain. So you've mentioned two ways. Is there any other way that you think Ghana can end up maximizing points along the value chain that they're not doing now so that there is more revenue coming in as this very precious metal is mined?
I think that mining companies in Ghana work with a lot of other contractors and things like that. For example, a huge chunk of the expenditure that mining companies incur is on their fuel, on the fuel that they use. Their machines are all powered by diesel or their diesel engines. In Ghana, for example, almost all the fuel that is used by mining companies is supplied by locally owned oil marketing companies. Things like these will help the mining industry to be able to grow. But mainly, I mean, I think that the most important thing is to encourage more players in the value chain. If we're able to set up the industry such that we are able to refine as much of the gold as we can here in Ghana as possible before we even sell them out to, or before we even export them to other countries. And that's one of the surest ways that we can make as much money as we can from our gold reserves.
All right, Benjamin, we're going to take a quick time out. When we come back, we'll talk about small-scale mining. You talked about that earlier, mentioning it. Let's get deeper into that. Also looking at artisanal mining and the issue of illegal miners as well, as Ghana continues to hold sway as Africa's largest gold producer. That aspect of the conversation comes up right after this. Stay with us. And we are still talking about Africa's resurgence of gold. Benjamin Ato Quansah is joining me live from Accra, Ghana. Benjamin, let's talk about those who are not the big companies and who are not government. So there has been the issue of artisanal miners or really small-scale miners. But for Ghana, it doesn't look like it has really existed. And you just really touched on that earlier in our conversation. Has Ghana managed to get the multinationals involved, also making room for smaller registered miners, and then dealing with the issue of those very small artisanal miners? Is this something that Ghana has managed to get a handle on, or are they still working? It's a work in progress.
I think it is still a work in progress. There are lots of small-scale miners in Ghana. Unfortunately, they do not get the same level of attention that other multinationals do. And to a very large extent, it probably isn't the fault of the government. Because, for example, if you are trying to obtain finance from a bank looks at your books and the books look good. Of course, the bank is ready to, or is happy to offer that kind of financing. Unfortunately, a lot of the small scale miners struggle when it comes to these kinds of things, in terms of regularizing their operations, making sure that whatever they are doing is really in line with proper corporate governance practices and things like that. And so I think it is up to the government to nurse them, just like I mentioned for Nigeria and other African countries. If government is able to provide a lot more assistance than they do to these other multinational companies, then of course artisanal miners will be that industry, or those companies are going to be growing at a level that probably will, in a few years' time, will be at the same level as Newmont, Ashanti Gold, and all that.
So still on this issue of miners, now let's talk about illegal mining. That's a problem across the continent, and a lot of study and research has shown that many of these illegal miners are actually non-Africans. They're foreigners who come into the continent and they're involved in this. How is Ghana dealing with this particular problem as it stands?
The process of dealing with foreign nationals involved in illegal mining is still ongoing. As I mentioned earlier, the vigor with which the government, or Operation Vanguard, as the government terms it, began seems to have made. Operation Vanguard was a joint task force that was started in 2017 by the government to combat illegal mining. So the vigor with which the operation began seems to have waned a little bit. Ghana has had to be very tactful in dealing with these nationals, and these nationals, or these foreign nationals, are mostly Chinese people. The appropriate ruthlessness required in dealing with people, some of whom have entered into the country illegally without any permits to work, not to even talk about obtaining the required permits by the Minerals Commission of Ghana to engage in mining activities, has not really been applied. I mean, we depend so much on China and other foreign countries for financial and technical aid in so many parts of the economy that we find it difficult dealing with their citizens who are flouting our laws like the way these illegal miners are. They say that if your hand is in the mouth of a lion, you don't knock it. Yeah. Historically, security forces arrest them, try them, and deport them back to their countries. And I don't think this is sufficient punishment for them.
Okay, so let's talk a bit about Ghana's mining code. So some of the criticism of Ghana's mining code is that it actually favors bigger companies with deeper pockets and tends to encourage brownfield exploration, and that there's also been an issue of the tax burden, which has stalled exploration projects and also deterred new investors, leading to a dearth of greenfield exploration, which would basically be new ones. So what are we looking at when it comes to this? Looking at more investments in the greenfield, addressing the tax issue as it may be, and looking into the mining code. Are these things that the Ghana political institution is looking at addressing?
Yes, actually, very recently, the vice president held talks on things like this, especially on the tax exemptions that some of these multinationals are enjoying. It has been seen that some of these companies are sort of misusing the leeway that government has given to them. Just like I mentioned earlier, that they have tax exemptions on some of the things that they need to help them in their mining exploration and their mining operations. And so this is something that the government is seriously looking into, especially as these countries are repatriating a lot of their funds outside. And we are not really getting the full benefit of the natural resources that we have been blessed with. And so I am aware that government is seriously looking into this. And I'm sure that in a few months' time or in a few years' time, we are going to get something concrete, because the gold reserves are huge and they are not going anywhere. They're going to last for, tens of years. So the sooner we do this thing, the better for everyone as a Ghanaian.
So let's talk a little bit now about Ghana's dependency on gold. Maybe not in the same way we talk about Nigeria being dependent on crude, but when it comes to what gold means to Ghana, let me give you a quick breakdown, which I'm sure you're aware of. So the mining industry of Ghana accounts for about 5% of the country's GDP, and minerals make up about 37% of total exports, of which gold contributes over 90% of the total mineral exports. Therefore, the main focus of Ghana's mining and minerals development industry remains focused on gold. But gold is not the only mineral that Ghana has. What would you say about this sort of outsized focus that Ghana has on gold to the detriment of other particular minerals that are also available to Ghana and also have value on the international market?
I don't think it's an outsized focus. You really can't obtain mastery in everything. You look at what you are really good at and then concentrate as much effort as you can to those areas. Our efforts or the government's efforts in developing industry, minerals industry, trade industry, all the other industries in Ghana has been very diversified. And so if an industry seems to be making a lot of money for the country, then of course a lot more attention is going to be given to that industry. Our oil industry is also is enjoying the same level of attention as gold is. Our cocoa industry, same thing. Our services industry, same thing as well. Government is putting a lot of effort into making sure that all the industries are receiving the required level of attention. It's unfortunate, or is it fortunate, that gold is the biggest earner for the country at the moment, and so a lot more attention is given to gold. So I don't think that it's an outsized focus. I think that government is just putting the required level of focus on gold. We just have to improve the value chain and ensure that we are making more money than we are actually making at the moment.
All right, Benjamin, as we wrap up, you mentioned earlier, of course, some of the plans that President Nana Akufo-Addo had talked about in terms of factories in different regions and things. But when you have conversations about minerals and resources like this in a country, it then comes to the conversation of who owns what and what parts of the revenue should go where. So in terms of Ghana, who owns the gold? Are we talking state? Are we talking, is it a regional, some kind of regional arrangement? Is it the federal government? How do we break down the revenue that gets back to Ghana and to specific tiers of the government in regards to Ghana's gold?
Well, all gold reserves are owned by the states, and in Nigeria, in Ghana, the state is the same as the federal government in Nigeria. In fact, I recently watched a show by Paul Adamotri. He's a journalist in Ghana, where he mentioned that you are essentially a criminal if you find gold reserves in your own land and start to mine it.
Wow.
The legal thing to do is to report the discovery to the Minerals Commission of Ghana and negotiate an appropriate compensation for any inconveniences caused you for them coming to mine the gold. So all gold is owned and mined by the states. It's unfortunate that a lot of the companies that mine the gold in Ghana are all foreign-based companies. And so like I've been saying all day today, they end up repatriating the funds, and they use the funds in their countries, and then their GDPs begin to grow to the detriment of our country. And to their defense, I mean, they also create a lot of jobs for the citizens in the country. For example, when Anglo Gold Ashanti temporarily closed down their Obuasi mine in 2014, you realize that Obuasi became pretty much like a ghost town because most of the people over there had been employed by that company, and so their sources of livelihood were essentially taken away by that decision. Fortunately, Anglo Gold is back online, and so a lot of these people have gone back to Obuasi to enjoy their sources of livelihood. And so it isn't really bad that companies like Anglo Gold are mining our gold and then taking a lot of it away as well. But it would have been better if local participation was really encouraged and was more widespread than it is currently.
All right, a good note to end the conversation, encouragement of local participation as well, and making sure that we are able to put more value into the value chain so more can come out. Benjamin Ato Quansah joining me from Accra, Ghana. It was a pleasure as always. We'll see you next time.
Thank you very much, Tolu.
All right. We'll be wrapping things up with NC4 to watch, giving you a few stories we're keeping our eyes on. We start with this. Now, the shift to renewable energy sources in Morocco will create up to 482,000 new domestic jobs over the next 20 years, according to a recent study. The findings, which advocate for increased future partnership between the EU, Morocco, and Tunisia in pursuing shared environmental goals, explain the bulk of created jobs would be in the labor sector. South Africa's unemployment rate has increased by 1.7 percentage points to 32.5% in the first quarter of 2020. This translates to 7.2 million people and represents the highest unemployment rates recorded in 12 years. This follows an increase of 2.2 million people in the previous quarter. The trade pact between Kenya and the UK is opening doors for British firms to ship in goods duty-free for 25 years. The goods, both finished and unfinished, exclude agricultural and industrial products. Meanwhile, Kenya exported 49.5 billion Kenyan shillings worth of goods to the UK last year, up from 39.7 billion Kenyan shillings in 2019. Now, imports from the UK dropped to 29.3 billion Kenyan shillings from 35.3 billion Kenyan shillings during the same period. And finally, delegations representing Egypt and Qatar have met in Kuwait to discuss mechanisms for resuming bilateral diplomatic relations, according to an Egyptian Ministry of Foreign Affairs statement. The meeting between the two countries was the first since the diplomatic crisis with the Gulf Cooperation Council country started in 2017. The meeting aims to set the mechanisms and procedures for future discussions. That's it on Business Edge. I'll be back next time for more business and financial conversations involving the continent. Until then, follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. And don't forget to head to our website, download our mobile app, and of course, take us on the go with you by following us on YouTube. I'll see you next time. I'm Tolu Balogun.